East-West Harbor this year, 2020. It is, did we say the date?
The date is July 25th for Saturday, July 26th for Sunday. Go to either BuckeyeKayakFishingTrail.com to our events page, KayakBassFishing.com events page, or go right to Tourney X and sign up. Guys, you don't want to miss this event. There's a lot on the line, a lot you could win. It's a beautiful place, and you're going to love the fishery.
Yep. Hey guys, it's Billy here with Strictly Sales Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail, and today we're here with the tournament coordinator, Ryan Havlicek, for the upcoming KBF tournament. How's it going, Ryan?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. And since I said KBF, I've got my sticker right here. I'm going to put it up there. Since I said KBF, that means we're also here with Chad Hoover. How's it going, Chad?
It's going, man. How about yourself?
Going good. You are the man, the myth, the legend. Actually don't know why I said that, because I've never understood what myth means.
I don't either.
Somebody
saying that might mean the miss, but it was said with a lisp. You know what I mean?
I think you might be right.
The myth.
It's the Southern myth.
Yeah, the myth.
Yeah, and before we started the call, you said there's only one dome allowed per.
Yeah, I put my hat on because
there you go. That's what I wanted to see.
You got the better looking dome.
All right.
You look like a turtle that moved out of its shell, but you still got the better looking dome than I do. So
you know what? I watched, preparing for this, I went back and watched some of your YouTube videos, so I was ready for comments like that.
Cool.
I saw where you asked one guy, he has a hook shirt very similar to one I have, and you asked him where he kept his battery pack.
Yeah.
I was like,
his shirt like glows in the dark. Like I could see him before I even turned the lights on.
Yeah.
And I had to adjust the settings on the camera light because it was like blacking out the camera. So yeah.
So I'm not mad at you. You made me laugh with the comment, but if he's listening, I just want to let him know I have the same shirt and I like it. That's why I bought it. It also might have been on sale.
Right.
All right. Well, on today's video, we want to talk about an upcoming event that we have, KBF event. It's going to be a 2-day event at the end of the month up at East-West Harbor. And so I kind of want to start with that. And the idea here is for me to kind of run through the agenda, and I'm going to let Ryan explain that, because that is my number one point. It is 2 days, but it's 2 separate events. So why don't you explain that to me, Ryan?
Sure. So East-West Harbor, we've been here for a number of years now. It's a great fishery. You've got about 800 acres in East Harbor, about 400 acres in West Harbor, a lot of grass, a lot of boat docks to fish. There's some structure around, but essentially it's 2 individual KBF trail events. The reason for that, obviously we had these issues with COVID early on in the season. KBF wanted to create more opportunities for anglers. So now we have the ability to have 2 trail events. And Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but we need 3 for AOI points. And this would give anglers an opportunity to catch 2 of those in a single weekend. So They're not scored together. They're scored independently, two individual trail events. But given the turnout that we had the last couple of years, you can expect some big hammers to show up and some big bucks to be paid out.
Yeah, and the idea behind it was we realized that several things were going to happen. Travel restrictions were going to be different for different regions, different states within regions, and things along those lines. And ironically enough, the Northeast was the impetus for this model, because the Northeast, more so than any other part of the country, has the craziest travel restrictions. So, for example, with Jason Gardner in Maine, he can only go to 3 states without being required to come back home in mandatory quarantine, unpaid for 14 days. And then each of those states then have the same restriction that says, well, if you come to our state from that state, you've got a mandatory quarantine for 14 days when you get here. And so when you look at things like how can we make it to where somebody that can't travel to 6 or 8 big events, how can they be competitive for the 10? How can they be competitive for AOI? Because I think one of the things that people forget, or we don't do a good enough job at promoting at KBF, is that the Angler of the Year race itself is a bigger payout than most everything else in the industry. Hobie does a really good job. Bass does a really good job, but What we think we do a little bit different that helps us out is that our Angler of the Year wins $15,000 this year. You know,
those are bragging rights.
And the bragging right, but they also win an actual payout of 15 grand. Then by winning the Angler of the Year and qualifying for the 10, you got another shot at another $10,000, guaranteed $1,000 just by making it into the event. That's something that we implemented this year and plan on carrying into next year. So the right path, though, for us is these lower barrier to entry, lower cost, higher payout opportunity without that, meaning we feel like we do a really good job of offering two options. You can fish in a trail event and you can try it out and it's $100. You can also win big bass brawl money that is a better payout than most other tournaments. And the bonus bucks program itself means that KBF is actually the only 100% plus payout tournament series in the world. We didn't do a good
talk about that with this event, right?
Yeah, so we didn't do a good enough job of advertising that we're not just 100% payout, but we're 100% plus. And so we have to focus on partnerships like what we have with you guys.
This will be your first time at East West Harbor?
It'll be my first time there for a tournament. I've actually been through there and stopped and fished. But I got my butt handed to me. It was like 30-mile-an-hour winds. I happened to be coming back from Erie. I was like, oh, let me go check this East West Harbor out and see what it's all about. It had been raining the 3 days prior. It just slacked off enough. The storms were still in the area, and it rained the next day. So I fished it. It was one of the first places that I ever threw a Ned rig just because I got so frustrated that I was like, I'm going to catch a fish. So I started throwing a Ned rig. Then I ended up not catching anything on a Ned rig and switched to a chatterbait and started catching some fish. But I adjusted way too late. I was trying to catch them all on a swim bait, and they just weren't having it. And I didn't realize how much grass was there. Like, I thought it was like, you know, when you're from the South and you think Great Lakes, you think these big, open, vast expanses of boulders and, you know, clean water. Holy crap, that place had some grass when I got there.
You can thank the zebra mussels for that. They clean up the water, open up the water clarity, and here comes the vegetation.
I love all the information you're giving us. Let's talk about some of the details of East West Harbor. So we already talked about the event. It's a 5-fish limit on both days, correct? Yep. And we already know. Let's talk a little bit about the identifier, because there may be some folks from our trail. So talk to me about the identifier.
So it's you know, with any KBF event, there's a KBF identifier. You can go to the KBF.com and get those printed off. There's a new one for 2021. I'm sorry, 2020. There's 5 boxes, not 6 this year, because there's an extra logo in the identifier. But make sure you use a KBF identifier, and the codes will be released by 9 p.m. Friday night for Saturday's tournament and 9 p.m. Saturday night for Sunday's tournament. There will be 2 different codes, one for each tournament.
Somebody's going to try to use the same code.
You got that right.
It happens every time.
Angler responsibility.
All right, and then what time are lines in? Both days?
Lines in. Give me 2 seconds. I just had that up. Lines in are 6 a.m. Earliest launch is 5:30. So you've got a half hour to get to your spot. Lines out. Competition ends at 2 p.m. You have to have your photos uploaded by 2:30. Again, angler responsibility. The Tourney X guys have made some recent updates. If you haven't done so already, uninstall Tourney X. Install the new one for both Android and Apple. They haven't really changed the look or the format, but there's some new functionality. They're working out a few more bugs. I didn't have any issues with it this past weekend, but I encourage every angler to get the new version and get it ahead of time so you're not scrambling at the last minute. And
then how do we sign up? Somebody hasn't signed up yet. Where do they go? What do they do?
If you haven't signed up, you can go to the BKFT login. It'll take you right to the Tourney X page. If you go to Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail, to the East West Harbor event, you can go to KBF or kayakbassfishing.com/events. Scroll down to East West Harbor 1 and 2. It'll take you to the same place.
And what if someone has some questions that we haven't answered on this video?
If you have questions, as a tournament coordinator, Ryan Havlicek, you can reach out to me. My contact information is on the KBF or the kayakbassfishing.com/events page for this event. My information is also on the Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail, and I can be reached at ryan@timberlodging.com is my email address.
Yeah. Talk to me real quick. We have about a minute left here. Talk to me a little bit about some of the main sponsors, because we couldn't all do this without all these amazing sponsors, right?
Yep.
Talk to me about the sponsors and then some of the main prizes for this event.
So our sponsorship list ranges from Dakota Lithium. We got obviously KBF, Yeti. We've got Real Tree Fishing, Columbia Sportswear, Racknet. I can't name them all, but we have a couple of really cool things happening for this specific event only. Yeti has stepped up, and we're getting some support for them, so we'll have some prizes from Yeti, as well as, and this is new for this year in this event, Timber Lodging is a cabin in Hocking Hills, Ohio, and we are giving away, not to the winner, but to a raffle drawing, but giving away a 7-day vacation, 7 nights, 8 days for a family of 6 in Hocking Hills that you got to book before the end of the year, end of 2020 for next year. That's $2,500 value. And the way it works is you're going to get a ticket for every fish that you enter on day 1 and day 2. You got to fish both days to get into that contest for that raffle, but it's really cool. There's a lot of great fishing in the area. If you have any questions, again, reach out to me. But that's something new for this year.
Hey, man, it sounds amazing. That's great. I love the prizes. I love everything. Thank you, Ryan, for all the information. Thank you, Chad, for sharing everything you have. If you guys haven't had a chance, also check out Chad Hoover's YouTube channel. He did a great video on marina ethics. That was a good one. West Harbor.
Etiquette.
I said ethics. What are you going to do? You know.
Can I make a quick announcement on here before we run out of time?
Hey, so I don't know. We got cut off.
What was that? What is he talking about? Nothing like Hoover to leave us hanging again.
Yeah, and I know he's busy, so he actually offered to jump back on with us, and we told him not to worry about it. We're gonna do something later in the week where he's going to announce some big things. So whatever he was about to say, you'll find.
We'll hear about it later this week. We hope.
Yeah. There were a few more things, Ryan, that you wanted to go over, specifically the payout format. And let's go off of let's assume there's as many anglers as we had last year.
All right, so this is what's really cool. Chad talked about, payouts being over 100%. I'll just give you a little bit of a breakdown of what that looks like. And this is what's really cool. I mean, we're kayak anglers fishing out of little plastic boats, right? The local bass boat tournament guys cannot claim this. We know they can't because they got to pay fuel. They probably got payments on their boats, right? The trucks to drive them in there. But anyhow, let's talk about our payout structure. So last year we had 132 anglers. Guys, we need to beat that this year. I would love to see 150 day one and 100 on day two. But let's just say it was last year's payout, right? That's 130 anglers. First place, $2,200. Second place, $1,300. Third place, $800. And we're paying all the way down to 13, top 10%. So 13, you're going to take home $200, which is going to pay for your entry fee for both days if you get 13th place on day one. And just to give you an idea of the spread, last year there was over, I think it was like 12 or 13 inches, the difference between first place and 13th place, to give you an idea. So this is anybody's game. You guys have seen Any Given Sunday. Anybody could walk away with a check from this year. Last year, first place paid $2,000. So if we get the same amount of anglers, we're already going to be ahead of the game. That doesn't even include big bass. Big bass with the same amount of people is another 1,300. So realistically, first place with 130 anglers could take home almost $4,000. $4,000. That's a brand new Hobie PA14, man.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. I can't wait personally. I know I got a campsite as well. I do the primitive campsite. I know that's the East Harbor campground, right?
East Harbor campground, right? It's off a New Buck Road. So you get off the main exit. Typically, people will come up 53. You come up to the intersection of I forget the name of the road, 168. But when you're off the main intersection and you turn right, Fisherman Central, which is where we're going to have our weigh-in for the top 5 anglers, because of the state's mandate of having a group no bigger than 10. We need to keep it under that. but we will be handing out checks for this event. So if you're in the top 5, you need to be there. We haven't got a time yet, but those details will be coming. Obviously, got to be out of the water, done fishing, fish uploaded, 2 o'clock out of the water, 2:30 uploaded. But we'll talk about the weigh-in at Fisherman Central.
Yeah, I got my little mask here that I wear. That's not. We have to make sure that we do this. The 6 feet, the social distancing.
Correct.
10 people wearing a mask.
Whether you believe in the whole thing or not, just for the sake of caution, just like we got to wear a life vest for sake of caution. Yes, there's a lot of people that can swim, but for the safety of yourself and the safety of others, just come prepared and have some sort of face cover, face protection, and be mindful of the folks that you're around.
Yeah, and I like to take a lot of photos, so don't make me delete a photo because I took a picture of you and your buddy and you were talking to each other without mask and you were too.
Unless you're 6 foot away.
Yeah, 6 feet away. That works too. All right.
Here's something else I wanted to mention. Everybody, there's always one, actually there's always more than one angler that forgets identifiers. Guys, if you forget identifiers, reach out to me. My campsite is B100. So there's A, B, and C. Most people camping will be in C, but if you run out of identifiers, I will have them on a table right behind my camper, basically easy access. I'll also have some hand sanitizer there. So if you're worried about that, take your identifier, get yourself some hand sanitizer, call yourself clean, and take off. But it's 2 identifiers per person. They're already attached. You have to fill out the code because the code won't be announced until Friday or Saturday evening. But at least you'll have an identifier if you forgot one, because trying to find a printer at the 11th hour is always an impossibility.
Cool. I love it. And then I think all the KBF rules are pretty clear. 12-inch fish, you can only launch from public launch points.
Correct.
Like I said, a half hour before lines in, so you can't launch like 2 hours before and get to your spot and sit there and take a nap. Anything else we didn't go over?
No. Obviously, just in case people were a little confused last year, but we'll just clear it up right now, is that even if you don't camp, the ramp at East Harbor State Park to launch into East Harbor is available. There's a number of different ramps that you can use. The marinas all have their own private ramps. They're private, but they're public. A lot of them are public use. It's up to the angler to call that marina, find out if it's open to the public, but you may have to pay a fee. There's 2 public ramps on West Harbor that I'm familiar with, one on the west bank, one on the east bank that's actually on the East Harbor State Park side. Then there's a public ramp in East Harbor State Park, and there's a kayak ramp. If you go all the way around to the west side of East Harbor State Park, there's basically like a little slide in for kayaks. But there's several places to launch. Just ensure that you're launching from a public place, or that if you have to pay a fee from a private, but it's open to everyone.
Yeah.
Outside of that, have fun and catch a bunch of fish, man.
All right, Ryan. So I think we can close this out now. Before we end the video, just tell us all, like, where are the fish in West Harbor?
West Harbor, they're in the harbor.
All right. Well,
I mean, come on.
All right, that's it, guys. We'll see you there. Tight lines.
Thanks, guys. See ya.